In this episode of Food Service Worker, I'm going to be talking to you all about some of the things you may see on TikTok, um, titled Things You May See Inmates Have in Prison That Are From the Outside. So many ways. That being said, if you were ever on a platform like TikTok or anywhere they are live streaming at, and you see inmates that have a cell phone, right? Or if you see them with something that is from the outside, there is a good percent that they got that from either a corrupt corrections officer that they have something going together with, which eventually is going to lead that CO to being canned, and that person will likely end up where that inmate is at one day as well. And it's ironic. They don't think they will, but somehow you have that. There are a lot of people that work in prisons that literally think that they will not get caught bringing in contraband, and they don't think that the inmates will ever tell on them at all. So that's what happens. Okay. You have people that are stupid, and they do that. They bring cell phones in, they bring all kinds of stuff in, and they have certain ways of sneaking it in. Hopefully they don't get caught with it. And then you have other times you may see stuff on TikTok, food related, right? Food related stuff, and it makes you wonder. Like, recently I saw on a TikTok video, there was an inmate that was eating Popeye's chicken in his cell. He had the whole works that he had. And that right there, most people would say is fake. It is 100% not fake at all. Likely what happened was is some CEO in there got that for lunch, okay? Either got that for lunch, right? And one or two things happen. We could be on the optimistical side and not be straight out blunt about it, okay? One, it could have been the CEO's, like, maybe dinner, lunch, or something like that they brought in because they're going to do a long shift. And so that was going to be something they were going to eat. That's a lot of food, I'm just going to tell you now, to bring in the whole works for that CEO to eat. Which is surprising because the stuff that I'm not allowed to bring into the institution, like if my stuff is not in a clear container, they can actually look inside of it, make sure there's nothing inside of it, and all that. It's amazing that this CEO was able to bring in a bag of chicken and, you know, the side dishes and stuff like that for Popeye's chicken. Now, Popeye's chicken, for a lot of y'all that may be like, what the heck are you talking about? It's basically a Cajun style fast food restaurant, kind of like KFC chicken is, but this is more like more Cajun style, so it's more on the spicier side, south, like really like Louisiana in the United States style rip-off version of food. But anyways, thus said though, that inmate had that and it was in his cell eating that. Well, a whole long rant talking about Popeyes and his cell that inmate was eating. Another thing too is, I just recently heard about this on, ironically, April 2nd of 2024 from an inmate who informed me that there was chicken that was stolen, and it makes sense because the CEO that worked that shift didn't know what they were doing, and unfortunately, even my coworker who worked that shift didn't have keys and stuff like that too. So these inmates went wild on the whole night shift and stuff. So that being said, they got away with the biggest heist ever. With somehow, which is ironic because never when I worked on that shift were they doing that kind of crazy stuff. So like normally I go to work and I get to like 2 in the morning or a little after 2 in the morning to get in there to start the morning shift inmates, getting them started to make breakfast, and then when they're finished with all that stuff, we start making lunch, and then when we're done with lunch, it's pretty much the end of our shift. So it's a pretty fast shift compared to the PM shift and all that stuff, even though it's the same amount of hours and stuff like that. But we're always constantly on the move. But anyways, these guys, unironically, were as far as I know, were never had that ability. I mean, I found Buck recently from the night shift because a lot of them just don't care, and that's the reason why. It's not really a big deal, I guess you could say, because it's not really our job security-wise. Our job is to provide food service to the facility. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is that when you have failure on the food service providers to make sure that doors are locked and you're keeping an eye on inmates, and I'm not, let me get this very clear now, because I am not in any way trying to disrespect the inmates. I applaud them 100%. For any inmates that may see this video and stuff like that, don't take this the wrong way. This is not to be a disrespect on you guys, because I look at it 100% that if I was in your shoes, that I would do the same thing. If the opportunity presented me to be able to know that, first off, I got dummies in there with me right now, and I think I can get something up out of there. I'm gonna risk it, and so that's why I'm not here trying to like disrespect inmates in any way at all. I'm looking at it as an opportunity. Opportunity presents itself to you on a silver platter, even if you want to call it a gold platter, and you think you can get away with it. That is not the inmate's fault by any means. That is like literally hanging a stake in front of an inmate, and as far as I'm concerned, if the food service people and the CEOs cannot prevent that from happening by keeping stuff locked and not keeping an eye on the inmates when they are in areas like that, not the inmate's fault at all. So they look at it, maybe people say otherwise, but in that type of environment they live in, it is a gladiator school. It is a survival of the fittest, and it is what it is, and that's why I don't really get upset about that at all. So it's up to them to do their jobs, and they want me to do my job, but then some of them can't even do their own job. So I'm just leaving it at that. So there's been times, by the way, that I've always wondered how the heck did inmates ironically get the stuff they had. Like, I've seen inmates with like steaks and lobster tail. And now people say, there's no way they had that. Yes, they did. How they got that, I'm still a little confused on that myself, but I know some places in different facilities may have certain things in different states where maybe that's like a CO food, or maybe that was going to be used for something, and somehow these inmates took it. And how they got it out, I don't know. Somehow they worked together with other people that may have been in that kitchen, and they were able to get it on some kind of thing with wheels that allowed them to get it passed off to get it to its destination. There are many loopholes these guys have to work with, in order to get it to the destination they wanted to. So, for example, it could be maintenance guys, could be plumbers, could be inside grounds people. It could be a bunch of people that are working together to get this done. So if they can work a thing up where they can get the cell to get flooded, right, and the plumbers are maybe gonna be in the kitchen, and they can work with the guys in the kitchen to say, hey, can you get this low key? We got in this area over here, and they're gonna flood it, and then we're gonna be in here, but then we're gonna have to be probably sent there, so we're gonna need this stuff here, and we're gonna take it there. It really works like that. They think it doesn't, but it likely does work a certain way like that. And don't knock it until you actually 100% know it, because I can tell you now that I've had inmates that have 100% admitted to me that food carts are ironically used to hide stuff in, to take it to a dorm and stuff like that. So with the fact that some COs don't even hand out the food or nothing, the actual orderlies of that area are the ones that are responsible for handing out those food trays. So if, for example, the CO isn't actually watching and he's being distracted, and at a certain time a inmate could distract the CO long enough that on that tray it's going to go through that inmate's chow hall window, or tray window, has something on it, like some type of drugs or something that was in the kitchen that was not supposed to leave the kitchen. And because the inmates use a distraction, or maybe it was planned that these two inmates were going to go at it with each other in the cell, so that literally now gave them that window of opportunity now to pass off these trays right through the window. And it could have anything on it. It could have weapons, drugs. It could have any type of contraband on it in general. And it could have been brought in by a food service person, or it could have been brought in by somebody else who may have passed it through the window of the chow hall. And being how I look at the kitchen as the central hub of a lot of the contraband pass off, because these carts are able to be passed out through a bunch of housing units and stuff like that, depending on the facility and stuff like that. It's a perfect grounds for that, especially if they have a way of knowing what the tray is going to be. And communication is really important with a lot of them. So if you have colored trays in there, and then you have some that are like a different color, and you start seeing that, like, maybe you are a food service person and you happen to see that you're like something wasn't right. There just happened to be two trays that are the same color that were on the food line, or something, or you just see something out of the ordinary. Chances are it could possibly be something that was meant to be like that. So I'll give you an example real quick. There's been many times where I've seen inmates who have used what we have are these really hard gray food trays. The other ones are kind of like a maroon, I guess, color looking tray, and they have done this multiple times where they have used two of the gray color looking hard trays, and I watched them and I kept an eye on those trays, and I was waiting to see what was going to happen with them. And I watched the inmate put it on the cart, and I knew something was up with that. Something wasn't right with that. And then, we obviously had to call them out on that, and they weren't happy about that at all. Found out that it was food that they were trying to send to somebody in that dorm, and obviously the inmates were cutting them mad about that. But it is what it is. Most of them would look at you as the police or a snitch or whatever. At the same time, a lot of these inmates are snitches too. 100% that if I was somebody who brought in contraband, right? Say I brought them in something like drugs and some tobacco, and then I just decided that I didn't like you anymore, and I didn't want to bring you a damn bit of that in no more. Or we both got caught and all that the same day I would have brought it in, right? That 100%, I can tell you now that inmate is going to sing like a canary to cover himself. And I can tell you this too, is that in some places, when you go for your training, the trainer or instructor for the facility is going to tell you that these inmates will 100% snitch on each other, man. And snitch on you too, just to make sure that you end up in there. So, while they may look at you as a snitch of the police and look at you differently, some of them may know better at all, and they'll tell you that they are, but they're ironically not. They're hypocritical is what they are. They like to use, basically, what I look at it is like, what do you call it? It's not. It is like to use psychological warfare with you, manipulation of your mind, make you believe that all the problems are your fault, this, that, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So it's all psychological warfare. And none of them can accept responsibility for their own actions. That the reason why they are there is not because of you or I, it's because of their actions. And then, at the end of the day, the reason why stuff may not be working in there for them is because of their actions or the other inmates' actions who like to go and mess with stuff and disassemble it for the other people who may be using it that don't even mess with the thing, and all they do is just use it. So, for example, the cooking machines may be tampered with, so they're broken, and then they complain to the food service people that we're supposed to maintain that, so we're supposed to keep on wasting money and go bankrupt by repairing stuff because inmates don't know how to clean it properly. They disassemble like the ice machines and stuff like that at certain places, and they have to keep on repairing that, and it just gets old. So it's just like a warfare that you're going to deal with. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this episode. But I will just quick say that this not really the end, because you see, there are times, and I know I'm getting amped up because I'm trying to like speed this video up, so that's why I'm getting kind of worked up and amped up and stuff. But trying to cover some of the stuff you may see in videos, okay, or that's on TikTok, is it's like it came from food service, okay, or it came from the kitchen, and it was going to be used for something. It's not like they went to the grocery store and they bought it. It literally came from the kitchen. Why it was in the kitchen, I don't know. Some states or maybe even some countries may have different types of foods the inmates may have access to, or maybe that's what they're allowed to have. But I can tell you now, a lot of places in the United States, unless you have corrupt COs, chances are that food got out through a variety of ways, or went through a bunch of hoops to get it out. A lot of planned stuff was made to get that stuff out. And it's kind of like, even with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if they have food carts that have to be taken, and they have to take them to all the housing units and stuff, where the inmates may never leave their cells, and you only got a couple places that actually go to chow hall. It just depends on the institution. If you see inmates that are having a barbecue or having a bunch of crazy food you see on the outside world, like, they probably got it from the kitchen. 100%. Somebody got it for them. Somehow. That's how they got it. And it's not always BS. It's not a green screen that you're seeing half the time either. Those are 100% real inmates in a real institution that worked some strings and were able to get that stuff. And it shouldn't be a surprise to you by any means, because that's legit what goes on in those areas. Even, hate to say it, but even some of the higher uppies fail to do their jobs. I mean, they actually have these devices that have been told that they use to cook with, and you see them. You'll see guys that are making moonshine, which is like liquor, on TikTok or TikTok videos, And that is actually failure on security of those institutions for allowing those inmates to have that stuff and not like doing anything about it. So that's it for this episode. If you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe and I'll see you on the next episode.